Okay, just going to look at the sine and cos rule for an obtuse angle triangle. Now, we've already looked at the sine before. And we know that if we did sine of a acute angle, so let's just say 40, and sine of 180 minus 40, which is sine of 140, that for sine of 40, you get a positive answer. So you get 0.643. But for sine of 140, you get 0.643. So you get exactly the same answer, okay, to 3 decimal places. So when you're doing the sine rule, that's why you need to consider both the obtuse angle and that's sine theta 100 and the acute angle. Because like if you look at this triangle, that is big A over little a, big B over little b, which is that. And so it becomes sine theta on 100 over sine 15 on 70. And let's just go and find theta. So because it is the sine rule, we also have to consider the obtuse angle as well. So we have to go sine theta equals sine 15 over 70 times 100. So you go sine 15 equals divided by 70 times 100, and you get 0.3697. And then when you're getting theta, you go shift sine of whatever that answer is. So you go shift, shift sine, and you end up with 22 degrees. And then that would be your acute angle, and we have to just check if there's a possible obtuse angle. So if you take the 22 away from 180, you end up with 158 degrees. And then you've just got to actually check that 158 will fit in the triangle with the other angle that exists there. And the other angle that exists there is your 15. So if you go 158 plus 15, and if it's less than 180, then there is actually, so you've got 158 plus 15, which is 173. So there is room for another angle in there. That would be 7, because 7 to make 180. So you'd have one triangle with 158, 15, and 7, and then you'd have your acute angle, which would have 22, 15, 22 plus 15 minus 180, which will give you 143. So there are actually 2 possible solutions to this question. Could be an obtuse angle, or it could be an acute angle. Now, when you do the cos rule, the problem isn't as significant. And the reason it's not is because it will come out in the question. Because what will happen here, that's the number 7, when you're looking at the cos rule, so the cos, you go cos C equals a squared plus b squared minus c squared over 2ab. Now, I just want to establish, if you did cos of an acute angle, say 60, you get 0.5. But if you did 180 minus 60, 180 minus 60 is cos of 120. And cos of 120 is minus 0.5. So you actually get a negative. Now, the reason you get a negative is because these ratios are based on the unit circle and the amount of turning. And this is like 0 degrees here, 90, 180. And if you turn around to an obtuse angle, an acute angle being in quadrant 1, that's your angle theta in there. The x value is always negative and the y value in the number plane would be positive. So when you do cos of the angle, you get minus x, and the hypotenuse, we call it the unit circle because it's got radius 1. The hypotenuse is equal to a positive. So the cos in that quadrant for an obtuse angle will be negative, and that's where you get this negative. So the beauty of that is that when you then go to find your angle, so let's look at the first one up the top there. When we go to find that, we go like cos theta equals a squared, 8 squared plus 7 squared minus 11 squared, and then we put 2 over 8 times 7. So you go 8 squared plus 7 squared minus 11 squared equals, which is minus 8. You get minus 8 over, and then you go 2 times 8 times 7, which is 112. So you go minus 8 over 112 and shift cos of that answer. So what happens is you'll get theta equals 94 degrees. When you do this, you don't have to take it away from 180 because your calculator will actually work out the obtuse angle for you, and there'll only end up being one answer. So for cos, you don't actually really have to worry about. It will come out in the answer because it is incorporated. When that is a minus, it will put it into the second quadrant, and therefore it will make it obtuse automatically. Whereas sine has an ambiguous, that's why I call this ambiguous. It could possibly have two answers, we don't actually know. And that's why it could be both of them, whereas the cos one will only have one answer when it's obtuse.